In my last live stream 11, we went through the rest of Inpatient's album, but the one song I have not listened to yet from that is Neurodivergent. So let's get started. I love the Neurodivergent and the Inpatient book he's reading. Wait. I'm sorry. It says, I thought that said ISO BPM 80. Okay, sorry. I was too focused on the other black.
Stay calm, boy. My thoughts are burning like the napalm. I think I need to get away from this noise. I hate the places that I came from. Destroy and burn a message from the preacher. Subliminal out the speaker. Kill. I never paid attention either. There's something strange about my demeanor. Don't feel pity for this sick boy. I've been sitting pretty with prescriptions, flipping stimulants and edibles. It's medicine, cerebellum, repairable, tweaking the biochemical, peaking. I'm feeling incredible. But wait a second, need dopamine. My focus goes towards smoke machine. Precursor bird from L-tyrosine. And my racetrack doors very psycheding. Deciphering maybes, I might have been aspirating. Fibonacci, Vicodin, the piloting, Kawasaki, ninja thing. I bring to a big talk, to a big begin. And I go, off script, status quo, car twisted, the roll, top lip split, explode, misfit, don't fit.
Real quick, musically there's not a lot. I like the simplicity of this song. It's really, really catchy in the notes that they've chosen. But I like the way that it's primarily led by the bass line, at least so far. It's a little grungy, so there's a little bit of fuzz on it. That's a pedal or an effect you can use. Not quite distorted, but some fuzziness. And I like that the way that he's sliding his fingers down the fretboard, we can actually hear, and the strings, we can hear the zzz, zzz, kind of going through. And I like that it's purposely messy. I'll leave it at that.
Just quo, car twisted, the roll, top lip split, explode, misfit, don't fit. What makes a person? Neurodivergent.
I know this is probably way too simple, but again, I just want to point out Ren's creativity. If I would argue that a normal, I don't know. To further prove Ren's talent, I'll just put it at this. He chose to have the faces of the persons doing the puppet slightly visible. Not only that, he chose it enough so we could see their mouth move, because pretty sure we see his mouth move, but for sure we see her mouth move on the OO. And I would argue, from a creative standpoint, that was a great choice, because most people probably just would have just done the puppets without even seeing the person's mouth or even head or even having them move. But I think that was a creative choice to have chosen to do that. It's simple, but you've got to think, someone had to mentally choose that we want to only show maybe 1/3, 2/3 of the person's face, but enough for the mouth to be able to see what they're mouthing.
Misfit, don't fit. What makes a person?
You see her?
Neurodivergent. Sick for certain.
Neurodivergent.
They tell me.
So I know, again, just watching the arrow. I know, again, it seems simple. It's not, and it's not, something like this is not hard to do. You probably just have the camera and literally them holding the camera along with the bow with this arrow right in front of it. We also noticed that it's not pointed. It might just be a rounded tip instead of having the full flared tip that you might typically see which is probably a good choice. My point though is that was again another creative choice that was taken to say, they could have just used the standard shot that they started with. Could have just started here And we could have just ended on a cut close up to him being shot. But no, they used the creativity to show the actual arrow taking place.
Sick for certain.
Neurodivergent.
They told me I was broken. Nothing but a defect in my head. Said that I was hopeless. Just a fucking reject hanging on by a thread. But after all the pills that they got me, it turned me to a zombie. So welcome to the dawn of the dead. In the handicap spot, just to see that doctor, and this is what he said.
I just want to point out real quick, not to spend much time on this. It's nice that because we've done this before. They've done this before with Webby's voice. It's in the center, but then we have a slight offset of his vocals really far out in both ears, and it's like I said, it's a slightly offset, so we really get that spatial from it, and I just enjoy that, especially on Webby's voice. It's again another editing creative task to do.
Handicap spot just to see that doctor, and this is what he said. Yeah, he said I got a touch of autism, piece of my puzzle is missing, while the attention deficit disorder tunnels my vision. But see, this world's an asylum and shit, we all in the system, and our sanity's the motherfucking cost of admission. You see that glitch in the algorithm, that's me. Don't fit in the crowd, I lift a boundary. Going sick, let it out and flip. They found me with a misfits round, so bitch allow me to show 'em what I came to do. Shut the blinds and keep the noise down, cause it's about time to let them all into a madman's mind. Not well, but hell, I feel fine. Go up.
Everything that's going on, except for the middle person in this bathroom, is inappropriate. Kids, don't do this. Don't do this. Be good. Make good choices.
Go off script, state this quote, got twisted. Be whoa.
Two things. Ren's face when he comes out of the room is perfect. Let's look. I didn't even mean to stop it here. Just look at his facial expression. Oh my God. And then he's got, of course, powder everywhere.
Take this quote, got twisted. Be whoa, top lip split, explode, whoa, misfit, don't fit. Whoa, what makes a person?
I'm sorry. You're not. Okay, never mind.
Be whoa, top lip split, explode, whoa, misfit, don't fit.
I thought he originally didn't have powder on the tip of his nose before he went down, and he had it after he came up, but he didn't. It was always there. So sorry for this topic.
Whoa, what makes a person? Whoa, neurodivergent. Whoa, sick for certain. Whoa, neurodivergent.
Oh, that's great. Ooh. Sorry, I have never heard Ren do a solo like that. So was it actually Ren? Or did we have another person? Because I've been corrected in some cases that Romain sometimes will play guitar. I'm just looking real quick at the credits. But I don't see that it was. It sounds like it probably was Ren. But I just wanted to make sure. If I don't see it in the notes. Or the description of the video, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I've never heard Ren do a solo like that. It was like a classic 80s heavy metal hard rock solo with the additional layering of the off pitch for the solo and just some of the strings and the chord progressions that he used. That was kind of a typical late 80s, early 90s kind of metal guitar-esque solo. Just go back to it. It's kind of Slash, Guns N' Roses-esque, maybe, if you will. Some Skid Row in there. You get the idea.
Sick entirely. Whoa. Shrinks in psychiatry. Whoa. Don't mind my anxiety. Whoa. Or my non-sobriety. Whoa. Doctors lining up to lie to me. Whoa. Speak too much, they try to silence me. Whoa. Just a product of society. Whoa. That's fine with me.
So dangerous. That was a huge blunt. Okay, I was making sure I didn't hear anything at the end. This is so funny. I mean, I imagine if you went to school, you probably experienced a talent show. I always hated that. Or show and tell. I always hated that because you had to stand in front of a crowd, even amongst your peers. In my case, most of which didn't like me or made fun of me or picked on me. So it was such a cruel thing to go through. But nonetheless, you could see even in the faces of a lot of the students who were sitting there watching, they just weren't interested in pretty much anything. But it was still very comical to watch. And the fact that Webby is the dealer as the janitor. And there's some truth in that, which I find comical. Nonetheless, this was such a fun video. I need to go back and look at the lyrics a little bit more. But there were so many things that I pointed out. The other thing that I know you probably don't care, and you can end the video if you want to. But this shot, the only reason I bring this up is because there's a window. Right, and it even has a shade drawn, which we can see down here. But it is still really bright, and the reason I bring this up, I've talked about just Ren and the team that he uses to shoot his videos. They're extremely talented because a lot of persons probably wouldn't choose to shoot in a situation like this because that is such a bright light. Why do I say that? Well, because you require to set your certain shutter speed, your certain aperture. Your certain f-stop with the amount of light you want to let in, how long you want that light to be let in, for there still to be a clear picture. They probably even used a filter on the end of the lens to help bring some of that down. But you've got such a bright light source coming in, yet nothing is really being whitewashed or blown out. I mean, her desk is a little bit here in the front right corner, but that's about it. Everything else has a nice, really good tone to it. And we still get this full green color from the background wall. So it's just... And even when we come up close, we nothing is blown out. And typically, that would happen if you did not properly plan this out. Then not only that, there was one more shot where he's sitting on the desk. I haven't gone back. Let's see. Was it here? Yeah. We've got another light or window light source coming in. And again, nothing is really blown out. Maybe the pages, but we're still able to get full detail and full color of everything else. So my point, just to further show my appreciation for Ren, his talent, and everybody's talent that gets involved in this. Connors, the cook. Was it Kai? Who'll do the camera. So it's always appreciative because we get so much. Now, some of this can be done and corrected and even boosted in post. In editing, which I'm sure that they did too because they wanted to ensure that all of the colors came through. But my point, though, is if this were shot and it was too blown out, it's very difficult to correct that kind of things. So planning ahead of time and prepping and getting the proper settings of the camera will help the editing process to not be so difficult and so strenuous. That's the word I was looking for. So strenuous to get what visuals we wanted to get across. So I just wanted to point those two things out that I didn't mention. It's a great song. I love that it's just all primarily driven by the bass line. Again, I talked about his solo. It was a great solo. He picked it very well, played it gorgeously. This was just fun. So like I'd mentioned, on the last live stream, I had done the last, 6 songs? Or 5 or 6, 7 or 7 songs that were released earlier this week. and we had gone through and watched those on the live. I'd done some of my other videos dedicated to those, and I had not done Neurodivergent. So I wanted to check this one out. So I'll leave it at that. I've done enough yammering. Thank you so much for watching Melodic Logic, and until next time, please take care.